Broken things can become a blessing if you let God do the mending. Welcome to Broken to be Blessed Network, where dynamic women will share their experiences that will inspire, and experiences that have turned out to be a blessing. Now here's your host, Samantha McNeil.
Welcome again to Broken to be Blessed Network. If you have not yet share, and subscribe, please do so, as you don't want to miss all the fun and the activities that is happening right here. We are still in season 2, and oh, what a wonderful season it has been. Today, I have with me 3 beautiful ladies, and today we will be exploring the topic of balancing family life in terms of being a wife, a mother, and involved in ministry. This is something that is very close to my heart, or something that I've always been passionate about. Why? I found myself to being called to ministry. Uh, I could say that I've been involved in singing ministry, and persons who know me would know that I've always been involved in choir ministry and singing ministry from a young age. Uh, it wasn't my idea to be a minister who involves in everything and preaching and teaching and whatever. But however, I've grown to find out that these giftings were always a part of my life. And then I I found out that I was called to be a youth leader. At this time, I was, I think, about a year in my marriage, and by the time I answered the call to be a youth leader, I was now expecting my first child. I was living about 45 minutes away from home. I was going to church rather. My place of worship was about 45 minutes away from home. So I would have to travel each week to go to church. So the demand was already high. It's youth ministry, and it's now the distance too is far. Now I am expecting, and we all know as mothers here how that go. It's a more challenge on the body. I am now working. I was working at that time. I was a guidance counselor at a school, so that was another full-time thing that you have to listen to children, you have to get things done, all of those things. It was a pack life, and young in marriage, and now expecting. I tried my very best to still go to church up to the 9th month. However, the ministry that I was involved in, because we live so far, we'd have to stay all day at church for both morning and night and everything. Remember, I said that at this time when I was pregnant, I was 3 years in my marriage, or 2.5 going to 3. Uh, we have discussed as a couple that we were going to share, and it was okay for me to be in ministry and all of that. As I said, I was not expecting, and it was a little bit challenging. I found out that during that process, I tried my best to still manage to do my duties and stuff. However, seeing the condition, it was hard for me to stay all day, not having a bed to lay down in, and then I'm going to be going to work the next day. So all of that, I went, and I went up to the 8th month. The 8th month was the last week that I went. After that, I um I gave birth, and I stayed away for 3 months. I got the shock of my life. I thought that all the love that I was getting, I thought that I would still get it at that time, being a first time mom. No, after that phase, I went back to church after 3 months, and I got another shocker. Got another shocker because persons were disappointed that I took all of 3 months, and that the youth department was falling apart because I was missing in action. It was devastating. In my mind, I left persons to man over things. When I went back, it was just all over the place. So today's conversation is one that is going to be, I don't even know the word to find. Also, in the process, I think it was a struggle to balance everything. It was far away from home. Now I have a young baby, new mother, and to travel, and I was not able to stay all day. I realized that these things were not understood by the persons that I was around. So things were being said, and now I'm now being given the cold shoulder and all of these things. And it was just, I remember one day I was saying that to myself, oh wow, if only there was a system where we could help persons like me to balance things. After a while, there were days when I, as a leader, I would come very late, not because I wanted to, but after all the things that I have to get done to get to service. And then even if I get ready, the journey to is 45 minutes. Sometimes we stop at the gas station, sometimes we have to get here and the entire time goes by. So it was now a struggle, and maybe I'm looking like a late bug all the time or something like that. So it was just this pressure. And I was saying to myself, oh, if we could just find, if we could have a system where persons could help persons like me to balance things and to not let me feel like a misfit, or I'm doing something wrong, or I'm not able to, I'm not capable, or I'm taking a role that I don't want to, and all of these things. So hence today, this has always been something that I wanted to hear other persons' journey and how they would help other persons. In knowing now that we have Broken to be Blessed Network, and today we are here with three ladies who are mothers, their wife, and they're involved in ministry. And they can say all their life and have had the phases and the transition. So today I'm going to have them all introduce themselves to us and tell us just a little bit about themselves before we get into all the other wonderful stuff. So we'll start with Natoya.
Hi, everyone. I'm Natoya Campbell Broomfield. And as Samantha mentioned, I'm a mother, a wife, and also a woman who is very much involved in ministries. Not just ministry, but ministries. And ministry is not just dealing with the church, but personal and other ministries as it relates to my life. I've been serving in the church per se all my life practically, because even as a child, I used to co-teach with my Sunday school teacher. So the mantle of being a leader has been on me since I was a child. And as I grew older, I transitioned into youth ministry, being a missionary, being a deacon's wife, and all the pressures that comes with that. But as an individual who is free-spirited, I found my personal ministry, I believe, when I was in high school. And those were the days when we would have prayer meetings under the stairs, and we would be criticized and chastised because going to a Catholic school, we were not easily allowed to have prayer meetings per se. But I found personal ministries as it relates to prayer at a tender age of 16. And since then, I have been pursuing that, even, putting it together with my ministry in the church and what I do otherwise. I am a woman who loves young people, loves souls in general, but mostly young people, and not just any young person, but I love those young people who are classified to be problem, those that are looked at as being nobodies, those that are always seen sitting by themselves or sitting at the back of the church, most times on their phones, not paying attention. Those are the young people I like working with, because I know what it feels like to be a castaway and being broken. But God has a purpose in brokenness, because that is where he fashioned us for the purpose that he has called us to. And today I am here only because of purpose on my life. And I appreciate the fact that Sister Samantha chose to look at me as one of those persons who would have been, befitting for such a ministry as this, because I do believe that I can relate to brokenness in many forms. And as we go along, you'll hear my story and how I managed to balance that with ministry. However, I believe I have had brokenness to the highest level, and I've managed to overcome only by the grace of God. So being a nurse, a counselor, a mother, a wife, God has been good. And he has found a way to allow me to still serve effectively in all the areas that I named, and not, being broken down to the point where I was not able to function. So I'm honored to be a part of this interview.
Thank you so much, Natoya, for sharing with us. And just to let us understand you a little bit more, I'm going to ask Tina to go ahead and just to share a little bit about herself with us.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Tina Fairclough, Lois Fairclough to be exact. I am a mother of 4, 3 biological and 1 adopted. I am a minister. I'm a choir, a praise and worship leader. A whole heap of things, Sunday school teacher, all over the place. Praise God. But I've been married now for about 11 years. And I can tell you, going through different stages of life. I am a PK, a pastor's kid. And sometimes people wonder why you maybe talk that you're a PK. But being a PK, it gives you a whole different side of church that many persons may not understand. It doesn't only give you, some people think that being a PK is a clout, but sometimes it gives you also the raw side of church that many persons don't understand or don't know about. I also can relate to the brokenness. I got pregnant before I was married, being a Christian, on the choir, got pregnant. And that was 16 years ago. But I am still here and still in the church. Why? Because of God. And also I have a very supportive spouse. And he has also helped me to balance. I am not the person that plans or know how to plan, and I'm more of an impulsive person. So I just get up and do things. And sometimes that would sometimes keep me out of balance. Because wherever my heart is, that's what I would do. But sometimes, you have to think about what is happening. As Natoya said, I love the young people that are classified then as problem, because sometimes when I look at them, I see myself, going through a lot of things that some of the things I've gone through, I don't think I've even spoken to them, to anybody else more than my spouse at this point in time. So I do understand, and I relate. I also concur with Samantha with after I had my daughter, I went through months of postpartum depression where I thought I was, at one point, I think I was losing my mind. Persons probably thought that other things were stressing me. Because in Jamaica, we don't view postpartum depression as any big thing. Some people don't understand it. But that was one of the breaking points on me. It was really bad. I had to just go downtown and just walk up and down and just look, just to keep my mind clear. My husband had to take over the complete care of our newborn child because I could not do it. So I understand and I know, but I truly believe that because of the hand of God on my life, that is why I am still here. And that is why I believe that all my experiences, God has given them to me. It took me a while to be able to say it this way. God has allowed me to go through them so that I can help somebody along the way. There's so many broken persons in the church, and we think just praying it away helps, turning around and run around the church, and we feel that these are the things that help people to go through the problems that they are having or the brokenness that they are having. But I believe that a program like this will help somebody to go through a phase in their life, because everything is just a phase. If we hold on and press forward, right, we have to understand that things will happen. But if we press forward with God, because it's not going to be possible without God, if we press forward with God and our families, then we understand that God will help us to take it to another level, or to where He would want us to be. So as we go through the program, then we never know what may happen. We never know what may come out. You know, I'm just happy, and thank you, Samantha, for inviting me to be on this podium today. And I hope that whatever I share or whatever we share together will be help to someone out there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here too. I'm gonna ask Sister McLaren. I'm always having a challenge with pronouncing your first name. Natoya was helping me earlier, but it still doesn't. It's so unique. I still don't get it. So I'm gonna ask you um, to let us know that how that beautiful name is pronounced, and tell us a little about yourself.
Bless the Lord, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night to whatever time period this may reach or guess. I just want to thank Samantha for having me here, and just to share this platform with the other sisters, Sister Tina, Sister Natoya. My name is Datonya McLaren. So you put a D-A before Tonya, and that's Datonya McLaren. I'm the eldest for both of my parents. I am the wife to Kemar McLaren and the mother of 4 beautiful children: Joseph Judah, Jaden Paul, Joanna Ruth, and Jessica Rachel. I am so grateful to have them in my life. I serve in various areas. I'm presently an evangelist at my church, the host of Man and Woman Conversations, which is a Facebook Live that is held every Thursday at 9:15 Jamaican time. I counsel, I'm a relationship advisor, I'm an encourager, just about whatever the Lord would have me to do. And I do deem myself to be an intercessor. I've been saved from I was 13 years old. And since then, I have always been called in the area of prayer. So I served at UCAM as a prayer coordinator. And at my church, I served in the youth department. Till later on, I became the youth president for 7 years. So I have worked in ministry, and I have had to learn how to balance ministry with married life and, being a parent and all of that. It comes with its challenges, but as we go further in the discussion, we will share definitely the challenges, and then we will also, I guess, as a team, we will share how is it that we maneuver, through those challenges. And we pray that certainly, if there is a woman that is listening that would definitely need counsel, that she would somehow get some information from our presentation that would help her to, be better in this area.
Thank you so much, Natoya. Thank you very much. All right, I'm gonna let us now share our journey with us. Yes, and I know that the journey is long, but we are just going to share a summary of it. And okay, Natoya, go ahead and share with us your journey. And in that, let us know if there has been a breaking point for you, and let us know too how you strike the balance in it.
My journey in balancing ministry, being a mother, and being a wife has been a challenge. I think the journey started since we got married, because of the fact that being 2 young people in the church, I got married at the age of 21, and we were viewed as not being ready for marriage. Our pastors did not have any issues. However, when it comes to the body of Christ, everybody has their own opinion. But my personality was always where your opinion does not dictate what road my life take. And as a result of that, Sister Tina would know this. I'm one who is very outspoken. People classify me as being feisty, but I do believe that if I have an ought against you, the Bible says we should make it right, right? Me telling Dick, Tom, and Harry will not help you. So I rather come straight to you, get straight to the point, we deal with it and get it over with. When I'm done, Natoya is going to be Natoya again. I'm going to still talk to you. I'm going to still laugh with you because I don't hold grudges. But I'm very outspoken. And so for me, the journey being, it has been a rough start. Getting married and moving into ministry and everything as it relates to ministry. And so we had a challenge from the beginning to say that we were too young and we didn't know anything about marriage. At that time, I also was struggling with personal illnesses. And so I was also classified as not being a candidate for marriage because persons knew of my illness. Eventually we got married and the journey started. Of course, the illnesses did not affect the marriage in the beginning. However, mentally, it was challenging because, you know, we had all the naysayers and all these things were going on. But I put on blinders, as you would say, and I kept going. When we started out in a small ministry, and so it was a growing ministry. And my husband and I basically had most of the responsibilities because when we started out, he started out being a deacon, and I would support him in his position. But then I was also serving as youth president, and I was also serving not just as youth president, but serving as it relates to Bible quiz and a bunch of other responsibilities in the church. Now, having my illnesses, I was in school at the time too. And so I had to balance education, church responsibility, and being a wife. I found that there were times when I should have been at church, I would have to be studying, and I still have my responsibilities as paying attention to my husband. It was a challenge because church expected to be there every service. And so it was tough. And after a while, it became overwhelming because there were points when I had exams and I also had presentations at church. And I honestly, at that point, we did not have anybody to advise us. And so we made some gross mistakes where I felt like I had to please everybody. And so I stretched myself far and wide to the point where now my sicknesses became magnified because of the stress. I started having blackout spells. I would be admitted in the hospital ever so often. Then I found out I was pregnant, and that's where the challenge began. And like you mentioned in your thesis that you thought you had the support. And so when you started having the grand challenge, the support was not there. And I felt like I was now being deserted. And I even started getting mad at God because but God, I'm serving you. I'm doing your work. Why am I going through all of this? I never understood at that point what purpose God had for the brokenness that I would have experienced. And so I tell you the honest truth, I started taking out everything on my husband because I couldn't attack the church and I couldn't attack my tutors at school. So I felt like the only place I could, take it out is home. And so I took it out on my husband. Being a very quiet person, he would just suck it up and still support. And I was like, this man not normal. Me a quarrel with him, and he would just smile. Hon, take it easy. And what I did not know is how much it was breaking him. And so for me, it took a toll on him when I was in advanced pregnancy by 6 months, by 4 months rather. I was so sick, I started going into labor. So I was now admitted in the hospital. I was told that I couldn't go home because the baby was at risk. And so I had to literally be put in an upside down position in the hospital. I had to eat there, sleep there, take a shower there, because what they had to do was take the pressure off the cervix so the baby didn't come out, and then they had to stitch up the cervix. So, it was a real challenge now, being severely ill. I didn't have the time now to say I would leave somebody responsible for my position. So this was now left on the pastor to do. And so now I was classified as not being a good leader because I didn't train somebody for my position. But then, as I said, it was a growing ministry. And so we didn't have that much people to work with. And being the person who is free-spirited and all the exuberance and everything, I was always out front. So nobody, showed interest in trying to learn anything. And so personally, I didn't get the time to train anybody to say, hey, I can't be here, so do this. So everything was now dumped back on the pastor. And so it was rough for him, and I understand. But the challenge grew from there. And as the challenge grew, my life grew in terms of how I was able to handle all of that. Fast forward to delivery. I was delivered 7 months because my baby was now at risk and my health was at risk. I was told that it's either the baby or my life. So they had to deliver the baby. They had to induce labor to get the baby out because my blood sugar was spiking, my blood pressure was spiking, I was getting swollen. And the only way to solve the issue was to get the baby out so they were able to treat me. So my daughter was delivered prematurely. She was delivered at 7 months, 2 weeks. Upon delivery, I knew something was special about this child because every other baby, when delivered, when they come out, they cry. My baby came out dead. I remember when they held that baby up and they said, Mom, we have to rush with your baby not breathing. And I remember they asked me, what kind of baby? And I look at her and I realized it was a girl. But when I look at her, what was appalling was when they asked me what kind of baby, I said, a called out princess. Me, that I realized that there was something special about this child. They rushed with her, so I didn't get to see her like up front. And I remember they took the baby to they put on the oxygen and they rushed her to the nursery. And while they were gone with her, I remember I started singing, He's a miracle working God. He's a miracle working God. I wasn't worried. I'm being honest with you. I was not worried. The only thing I remember is that I could not breathe. And I remember I saw the doctor jump in the bed and started pressing my chest and everything went black. So I think at that point, I literally died. So when I came back, I remember I see all these machines around me and I realized now that they had to resuscitate. So from the get-go of my daughter's birth, I knew there was something special about her. All this drama took place, the church heard about it, and the journey continued into the whole process of ministry. I went back to church when my daughter was 4 months. And going back to church, I felt like I was a cast out. I felt like I was a new person coming to the church. I felt like, nobody understood what I was experiencing. And like Tina, I experienced postpartum depression because every time this baby cried, I felt like I want to throw the baby outside. To understand the process of postpartum depression, it's not something that is easy. The beauty about it is that God gave me a husband who, through all the stress, he was always supportive. So the burden of being a parent was now left on him and his mother. I would just wake up in the morning, I would curl up in the bed, he'd come and he put the baby on the breast, and I felt like I just want to push this baby off the bed. I did not want to hear the baby, I did not want to see the baby. And I remember I was there one morning and he was praying in the middle of the morning, about 3 o'clock, he was praying and I heard him praying. And I remember he came over me and he anointed me with oil. I was breastfeeding the baby too. And he anointed the baby and he spoke some things. Ladies, He spoke some things over my life, and I believe that is where the chains were broken. I watched this man parade, and he said, God, you gave me a perfect wife, and I will not allow this situation to destroy the wife that you has given me. And he went up into some places, and I remember I broke down and I started crying. And I think that was the morning that everything took a turn. I got up. You would think that nothing happened. I got up, I tidied up my house, I got the baby ready, and I was just doing all that I used to do before I went into that state. And I remember we got prepared for church the following morning. And while I was getting ready, I remember I was singing, because singing ministry is where I served most of my life in church. And I was singing, getting ready, and I remember the baby started crying. Now, this is where I proved to myself that the strength was coming back, and the baby started crying. I don't know what was wrong with the baby, and she was just crying, 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 crying. And I couldn't help. I put her on the breast, nothing. She was just crying. And I remember I held her up and I started speaking over her. I said, you're a child of God. You were called for purpose. The enemy will not have you. And the child just got quiet. And going to church, everything, worked out for the day, and everything took off from there. But I was expected to go right back into my ministry. When I went back to church, I was like, people weren't paying me any mind, but then I was approached to say that you have been away so long, you need to take up back your position. When I went home, I spoke to my husband. I said, well, I was told that I need to take up back my position. How am I going to manage this with a young baby? Not just a young baby, but a young baby who I was sick, and I had to deal with the baby and deal with her husband at the same time. He said to me, well, this is something that we're going to have to plan out so we can work out the days and the hours as it relates to it. We tried, but it was a challenge. There were days I couldn't go to church. There were weeks I was missing from church. And every time I was missing and go back, I got a good whooping. So it was hard. Fast forward to leaving that ministry, go to another ministry. And I decided I would just sit back and not do anything in church, because I believe that, family is most important. By this time, my second daughter was here, and I just decided that, you know what, I'm just gonna go, and I don't want to be involved in anything. But when God has a call on you, on your life, you don't dictate what God do. So I went and I just sat and I said, I'm not doing anything. Plan me not do nothing. Amen. My daughter was 7 months when we started this new church, and I was approached to say that, your spirit of worship, we love the way you worship, and it went on and on and on. And so I was asked to serve in youth ministry. I was like, but God have mercy, me run from it and come right back in it. I denied the position. 3 weeks passed, I was approached again. I was asked to serve. My husband said to me, if God has a call in your life, don't deny the purpose. All right, with a young baby, I decided to take it on. Now I would have to strap this baby onto me going down the hill. We were only 10 minutes away from church, so it wasn't hard. However, I would have to strap up this baby on me. I would have to be at practices because I was put on the choir too. So I had to be at choir practice. I was put on praise and worship team too. So I had to be on praise and worship. I had to be at praise and worship practice, choir practice, and still had to plan youth meetings and everything. And so the challenge began. At first, it flowed because, church was close. And so it was easy to just run down the hill and do what I have to do. It got intense when more positions were put on me. And I felt like I couldn't take them on because I thought it was already overwhelming. So I was classified as being stubborn and disobedient and the whole works, and started getting a beating now. So the human part of me say, no, I know I know nothing. I drop everything. No, I do nothing. I want to focus on my family. Did I do the right thing? Maybe it wasn't done the right way, but I felt like I did the right thing at that point. But stopping for a while, I felt like I needed that time to just be me and find me. Took the time, started realizing that I had some issues personally that were not dealt with from where we're coming from. And so I had to take that time to fix me. But during fixing me, I was seen as being somebody who was being, rebellious and all that. And so the whole challenge now of dealing with being a wife, being in ministry, being a mother. I was working as a nurse now, so I still had responsibilities. And being a nurse, I was involved in many activities at the hospital. I was advocating for all sorts of things. And so there was a bunch of things on me now. So I felt like the best thing to do was to stay away from church things, not realizing that that is where I should be pumping in. So it became challenging now when my youngest daughter was born and I realized that she was epileptic. I was now dealing with a sick child, a sick mother, a husband who was getting fed up, and church issues. And it grew worse and worse and worse to the point where I felt like I was being dumped into a dark place, and I succumbed to that. The things I did were foolish. I tell you the truth. The things I did were foolish, and it did not come back at me very well. But through all that, I learned one thing. God has a purpose for everything. In this process, I suffered loss in the sense that things that were important to Natoya, I lost it. I lost my smile. I lost my personality. I lost who I was and now became who people wanted me to be. And becoming what people wanted me to be, I felt like it was taking a toll on my marriage too. My husband was always a Prince Charm. Even through all of this, he stood his ground. And church became nothing but church to me now. I just go, I do what I have to do, I go home. There was nothing deep in it for me. I just went, I do what I have to do and go home. So now I was becoming somewhat like a robot. I just do and go. So there was no passion in it anymore for me because of the hurts, all the things that took place. And my actions created some of what I was going through. Like I said, the way I reacted to everything contributed to some of the things I was experiencing. And so as a result of that, I suffered grossly. And while I suffered, I was dying. I was dying not because of the sickness so much, but because inside, I didn't know who I was. I lost me altogether. So all the sicknesses started taking toll now. I was diagnosed with a long list. And for those persons who are on my page, you will see my story. I try to put bits and pieces there. And even through all of that, I was told that all that I was going through was because I was doing something wrong and God was punishing me for it. And so all that I was going through, stress, trauma, I got to a point where I was ready to take my life.
Wow. Oh my
I
God.
remember I went abroad. I left my family at home and I took a plane and I went abroad and I said, God, I'm going to kill myself and I don't want my family there.
My God.
But little did I know that my plans were not God's plans. So I took a flight and I left. When I left and thought that I had my plan, God had his plan. I didn't know where I was going, mark you. I didn't plan to go to somebody's house. I just took the flight. I didn't know where I was going. I took the flight. I got out in the airport and I said, Lord, where do I go from here? And I saw a sign with the name of a hotel. I called the number and I asked what was the rates for the night, and they told me. And I took the bus from the airport and I went to the hotel. While I was laying there, I said, I start planning out how I'm going to do it. I planned it to the T. And I remember I got out of the room was to go get something to eat. And as I stepped out, I bumped into a man and his coffee spilled all over him. And, he was just there. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And I knelt down to take up the cup. And on the cup, it says, Jesus saves. And that spoke volume to me. I asked him, can I keep this cup? He says, yes. And, we talked a little and then he walked away. And as I was walking away, I was just staring at the cup. All it says, Jesus save. I thought that was God's intervention at that point. And so I sat at the table in the dining room and I was just staring at the cup, staring at the cup, staring at the cup. And I remember I felt a little peace coming over me and I went outside and I started walking. And as I was walking along the pathway, I remember I felt like my whole life started playing out in front of me from the beginning to the end. And I started, all these things started dumping on me, and I started blaming myself like for everything that was happening now, because I realized that my reaction to all the challenges I faced was the reason I was going through all this. And so I just decided that, you know what, I'm just going to pray and leave it there. I prayed, and I was walking and praying and walking and praying. And somehow I hit my knee on a piece of board that was hanging out from a flower garden, and I fell. And when I fell and hit the ground, that was when God transformed my whole mindset and everything. When I hit the ground, I just felt something warm running down my face, and I realized that I hit my head and it was bleeding, and some persons run to me and started helping. I was taken to the hospital, and while I was in the hospital, that is where God did the transformation. A doctor came up to me and she started speaking into my life. Now, this was a Christian person, and she was saying that you're not here because you're sick, you're here because internally you are sick. And she was just speaking to me and speaking to me and speaking into me. And until today, Sister Samantha, Sister Datonya, Sister Tina, I have not seen that doctor again. Even after that doctor spoke to me and left, I asked for the doctor. People said they don't know that doctor. I believe that was an angel. She spoke into my life. She was just telling me about my story. And she was just talking. And I remember I poured out everything in that bed. I cried. I said, God, I'm going back home. And I'm going home, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I changed my flight date to 2 days later. Remember, I just came in the night. I changed my flight date to 2 days later, and I went back home. When I went back home smiling, and everything felt like my life started over. And my journey from there, Sister Samantha, to where I'm at today is where Natoya found Natoya again. I started speaking to myself. Every day I get up, I would affirm myself, and everything I do, I would see God in it, and I would speak God into it. And my life took a turn from there. And today I can testify that God has been good.